English podcast with Lara.
Hello, welcome to English Podcast with Lara. I'm Lara.
And I'm David. So happy to be here with you all today.
It's good to have you, as always. David, how are you doing? How has your week been?
Honestly, it's been one of those weeks where I feel like I've been moving all day. But I look back at the end of it and I think, what did I actually do?
Oh, I know that feeling so well. Like you're busy the whole time, but you can't really point to anything specific and say, yes, I did that.
Exactly. And the strange part is I felt tired, like genuinely tired. But I hadn't done anything that should have made me that tired.
That's such a weird feeling, right? Being tired without a real reason. I actually had something similar happen last week. I sat down after lunch, thinking I had the whole afternoon to get things done. And then I looked up, and it was almost 7 in the evening.
No. What happened?
I honestly don't know. I remember picking up my phone to check one thing, and then I just kind of drifted. I was scrolling mindlessly for what felt like 5 minutes, but was actually much, much longer.
Scrolling mindlessly. That's such a perfect way to describe it. It's like your hands are moving, but your brain has completely checked out.
Right. And the worst part is you don't even feel rested after. You feel kind of drained, actually. Like the scrolling took something from you instead of giving you a break.
Drained is the word. That's exactly the word. You feel drained, like a phone battery that somehow lost charge while it was just sitting there doing nothing useful.
That's a great comparison. And I think a lot of people listening right now know exactly what we're talking about. That feeling of finishing a day and thinking, I was busy, I was doing things, but I don't feel good about any of it.
And it's not about being lazy. I think that's important to say. It's not that people aren't trying. It's just that there's a difference between being busy and actually moving forward with something that matters to you.
That's such a good point. And that's actually something we're going to be talking about today in a way that I think is going to feel really relevant, especially for anyone who is learning English and trying to figure out how to make the most of their time.
Yes, and if you're watching or listening for the first time, welcome. This is exactly the kind of conversation we love having here.
It really is. And if you're enjoying it already, it would mean so much to us if you hit that subscribe button and give this episode a like. It genuinely helps more people find us, and we love growing this little community.
We really do. Okay, so this idea of being busy but not really getting anywhere, I feel like it's something that sneaks up on you. You don't notice it happening until suddenly a whole week has gone by.
And that's exactly where it gets interesting.
Because when you actually stop and think about where your time goes, it can be a little shocking. Like, I had this moment a few weeks ago where I was trying to figure out why I felt so behind on everything, and I just sat down and thought, okay, where did my time actually go this week?
And what did you find?
Nothing good. I mean, I found that I had spent a genuinely embarrassing amount of time doing things I didn't even enjoy. Not relaxing, not learning anything, just sort of filling time without any real purpose.
That's such an honest thing to admit. And I think a lot of people do that, but they don't stop to actually look at it. There's actually a name for what you did there. When you sat down and reviewed where your time went, that's called a time audit.
A time audit, I like that.
It's borrowed from the world of finance, right? A financial audit is when you go through all your money and see exactly where it went. A time audit is the same idea, but for your hours. You look at your day or your week and you ask, where did my time actually go?
And it's uncomfortable because you can't lie to yourself when you actually write it down or think it through carefully.
Exactly. And for English learners especially, I think this is so relevant because a lot of people feel like they've been studying for months and they're not improving. But when you do a time audit, you realize that a lot of what felt like studying wasn't really studying at all.
Oh, that's real. I've heard people call it fake studying. Like you have your notebook open, maybe you have a video playing in the background, but your brain is somewhere else completely.
Yes, and the tricky part is it feels productive in the moment. You feel like you're doing something because you're sitting at your desk with your materials around you, but you're procrastinating just in a way that looks responsible from the outside.
Procrastinating while looking busy. That might be the most relatable thing said on this podcast.
I think so. And procrastinate is such an important word. It means to delay doing something important, usually by doing something easier or less meaningful instead. And the sneaky version of it is exactly what you described, where it doesn't even look like procrastination.
It looks like effort, but it's not intentional effort. And I think that word, intentional, is really the key to all of this, because being intentional means you're doing something with a clear purpose. You know why you're doing it and what you want to get from it.
And that shift from just doing things to doing things with intention, that's where everything starts to change. I've noticed that even on days when I study for less time, if I'm intentional about it, I actually remember more and feel better about it afterward.
That's interesting because it goes against this idea that more time always equals more progress.
It really does. And I'm curious about our listeners here. Have you ever done something like a time audit, even informally? Or have you caught yourself fake studying? Let us know in the comments below. We genuinely love reading what you share.
And be honest, because we were just very honest with you.
We really were. And I think that honesty is what makes the difference, because once you see where your time is actually going, you can't unsee it.
And then the real question becomes, okay, now what?
Because knowing is one thing, but actually changing the pattern is a whole different challenge. And I think one of the biggest reasons people struggle to change, even when they know they're wasting time, is that they're completely overwhelmed before they even start.
Yes, and I think the overwhelm often comes from having too many options. Like, there are so many ways to learn English now. You've got apps, podcasts, YouTube channels, textbooks, online courses, conversation partners. The list is endless.
And instead of making it easier, all those options can actually freeze you. You spend so much time trying to decide what to do that you end up doing nothing. Or you jump between 5 different things and never go deep enough into any of them.
I know someone exactly like this. They had 3 different language apps on their phone, 2 textbooks on their desk, a list of YouTube channels saved, and a notebook full of study plans. And every time I asked how the English was going, they just kind of looked tired.
Because they were spinning their wheels. That's the phrase for it. When you're spinning your wheels, you're putting in effort, you're moving, but you're not actually going anywhere, like a car stuck in mud.
That's such a good image. The wheels are turning, but the car is not moving forward.
And it happens because of something called decision fatigue. Every time you have to make a choice, even a small one, it uses mental energy. And when you have too many choices about how to study, what to study, which resource to use, your brain gets exhausted just from deciding.
So by the time you've finally chosen what to do, you're already tired before you've done anything.
Exactly. And then the quality of everything you do after that drops. You can't focus as well, you retain less, and you feel like studying is harder than it should be.
Which makes you want to avoid it the next day. And then the day after that. And suddenly you've bitten off more than you can chew without even realizing it.
Bitten off more than you can chew. That's a great one. It means you've taken on more than you can actually handle. And I think a lot of English learners do this with the best intentions. They want to improve fast, so they pile everything on at once.
And the culture around productivity doesn't help either. There's this idea, especially in a lot of Western media and self-help content, that doing more is always better. That if you're not grinding, you're falling behind.
Right, and that mindset can be genuinely harmful for language learners. Because language learning is not like a project you can just push through with brute force. It needs consistency, yes, but it also needs space for things to settle in your brain.
And when you're overwhelmed, that space disappears. You're just cramming things in and hoping something sticks.
And nothing does, or at least not as much as it would if you were calm and focused and working with a clear head.
So the problem isn't that people aren't trying hard enough, it's almost the opposite. They're trying too hard in too many directions at once.
Which means the solution isn't to add more, it's to simplify, to make fewer decisions, choose one clear path, and actually commit to it without constantly second-guessing yourself.
That sounds so much easier than what most people are doing.
It is, but it also takes a kind of courage, because simplifying means letting go of things, and that can feel like giving up.
Even when it's actually the smarter move.
And that's exactly where a lot of people get stuck. They know they need to simplify, but the moment they think about dropping one of their apps or putting one of their textbooks aside, this little voice says, but what if that's the one that would have made the difference?
Oh, that voice is so loud sometimes.
It really is. And I think the best way to quiet that voice is to actually experience what it feels like to work with one clear intention. Like, not just hear about it, but actually try it and feel the difference.
Which is actually something we can show right now. Should we do a little scenario?
Let's do it. Okay, so I'll be a friend and you play someone called Alex. Alex is an English learner who really wants to improve but keeps running into this exact problem.
Got it. Okay, I'm Alex.
Hey Alex, how's the studying going?
Honestly, not great. I sat down this morning with like 2 hours free, and I didn't know where to start. I had my app open, I had a grammar book, I had a video paused, and I just kind of sat there feeling bad about myself.
Okay, so what did you actually want to get done today? Like, if you could only do one thing, what would it be?
I guess I really want to get better at speaking. That's the main thing. I get nervous when I talk to people and I freeze up.
Perfect. So that's your intention for today. Not grammar, not vocabulary lists, not an app, just speaking practice. Can you block out time for just that one thing?
Like, just decide that from 10 to 11, that's the only thing I'm doing?
Exactly. You block out that time, you put your phone on silent, you close everything else, and for that 1 hour, speaking practice is the only thing that exists.
That actually sounds kind of manageable. Like, when you say it like that, it doesn't feel as heavy.
Because it isn't heavy. The heaviness comes from trying to do everything at once. One intention, one block of time, one distraction-free hour. That's it.
Okay, I think I can do that. But what if I feel guilty about not doing the other stuff?
Then remind yourself that finishing one thing well is worth more than starting 5 things badly. The goal is progress, not performance.
Okay. I'm going to try it. Just speaking, 1 hour, no distractions.
And that's really it. That's the whole shift. Setting an intention means deciding on one clear purpose before you begin. And blocking out time means you're actually reserving a specific period for that one thing, protecting it from everything else.
And distraction is the enemy of both of those things, because a distraction doesn't have to be something big. It can be a notification, a random thought, a quick check of your messages that turns into 20 minutes.
And the moment you let one distraction in, the intention breaks. You're no longer in that protected space you created for yourself.
So the physical act of closing other tabs, putting the phone face down, even just telling someone around you that you're busy for the next hour, all of that is part of setting the intention.
It's like building a little wall around your focus time.
I love that, a wall around your focus time.
And the beautiful thing about Alex's situation is that it's so fixable. Like nothing about it is permanent. One small decision to simplify, and suddenly the whole session feels different.
Right, and I think what makes it feel real is that Alex didn't suddenly become a perfect studier. It was just one better choice. And that's actually what I want to continue with, because what happens the next day matters just as much.
Oh, totally. Because one good session is great, but what happens when you try again and it doesn't go as smoothly?
Exactly. So let's say Alex comes back. It's the next day. I'll stay as Alex.
Perfect. Okay, so Alex, how did it go?
It went okay, actually. I did the 1 hour of speaking practice, but then today I tried to do it again and I did a mistake. I got distracted after like 15 minutes and I felt really bad about it.
Okay, first of all, I'm really glad you tried again. And I just want to gently say, we'd usually say I made a mistake, not I did a mistake. Make a mistake is the natural way to say it in English.
Oh, right. I made a mistake. That's the one. I always mix that up.
It's such a common one, honestly. And the fact that you're noticing it means you're paying attention, which is exactly what we want. But tell me more. What happened after the 15 minutes?
I was very boring sitting there with nothing but my speaking practice. I wanted to check my phone.
I totally understand the feeling, but just so you know, you'd want to say I was very bored, not I was very boring. Boring describes something that causes the feeling, like a boring lesson. Bored describes how you personally feel.
Oh, I was bored. The silence was boring. Got it. That actually makes so much sense.
Exactly. You felt bored because the silence was boring. Two different words for two different things. And honestly, feeling bored during focus practice is completely normal at first. Your brain is used to constant stimulation.
That's reassuring because I thought something was wrong with me. But I did bounce back. After the distraction, I put my phone away and finished the session.
You bounced back. I love that. And that phrase is perfect here. To bounce back means to recover quickly after a setback. You hit a wall, you got distracted, but you didn't give up on the whole session.
I've been studying since 2 hours when I finished, so I was pretty proud.
Oh, and here's a small but important one. We'd say I'd been studying for 2 hours, not since 2 hours. For is used with a length of time, like for 2 hours, for 3 days. Since is used with a specific starting point, like since Monday or since 9 o'clock.
For 2 hours, since 9 o'clock. Okay, that one I need to write down.
It's one of those things that clicks once you hear the logic behind it. And the fact that you stayed on track after the distraction, that's the real win.
To stay on track means to keep doing what you planned, right? Even when something tries to pull you away from it.
Exactly. And that's honestly the whole skill. Not being perfect, but knowing how to return to the plan when things go sideways.
Which means making mistakes is actually part of staying on track, as long as you don't let them end the session completely.
That's such a healthy way to look at it.
And I think that's something a lot of learners don't give themselves permission to do. Like the moment something goes wrong, they feel like the whole effort is ruined.
Which is such a shame because the recovery is actually where a lot of the real learning happens, not just in English, but in anything.
Completely. And speaking of things that trip people up, can I just say something about the word procrastinate? Because I feel like every time I try to say it naturally in conversation, something goes wrong.
What happens?
I either rush it or I put the stress in the wrong place. I end up saying something like procrastinate, all flat and strange.
Oh, I hear that a lot, actually. The stress in procrastinate falls on the second syllable, so it's procrastinate. The crass part is the one that gets the most weight.
Procrastinate. Okay, that already sounds more natural.
Right, and this is actually something worth slowing down for, because syllable stress in English is one of those things that can completely change how natural you sound, even if every word you're saying is correct.
Like, you can have perfect grammar and perfect vocabulary, but if the stress is off, something just feels slightly wrong to the listener.
Exactly. And it's not their fault for noticing it. It's just how our ears are trained. We expect certain syllables to carry more weight, and when they don't, it creates this tiny moment of confusion.
So what about the word intentional? Because that one comes up a lot, and I want to make sure I'm saying it right.
Good one. Intentional is intentional. The stress is on the second syllable again. Ten is the part that carries the weight. Intentional.
Intentional. And then
overwhelmed? Because that word has always felt a little tricky to me at the end.
Yes. Overwhelmed is interesting because that final D is very soft, almost like it blends into the M before it. So it's not overwhelmed, it's just overwhelmed. The D is there, but it's quiet.
Overwhelmed. Like the D is just barely there.
Exactly, just a gentle landing, and the stress is on whelm. Overwhelmed.
You know what actually helps me with this stuff is shadowing. Have you talked about shadowing on the podcast before?
We've mentioned it, but let's actually do a quick version right now because I think hearing it is so much more useful than just describing it.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker and you repeat immediately after them, trying to copy not just the words, but the rhythm, the stress, the pauses, everything.
It's almost like you are an echo. The idea is to train your mouth and your ear at the same time. So let me say a sentence, and David, you shadow it right after. Ready?
Ready.
I've been procrastinating all morning and I feel completely overwhelmed.
I've been procrastinating all morning and I feel completely overwhelmed.
That was really good, actually. Did you notice how the rhythm of it changed when you focused on the stressed syllables?
It did. It felt more like music almost, like there's a natural beat to it.
That's exactly what rhythm means in spoken English. It's not just about individual words, it's about the flow between them, the way some words get more time and weight, and others kind of glide past quickly.
And shadowing is one of the best ways to internalize that without having to think about rules at all.
Because your body starts to learn the pattern before your brain has even processed it consciously. It becomes muscle memory almost.
And I think that's why so many learners who shadow regularly start to sound more natural even before their vocabulary or grammar has significantly changed.
The fluency comes first, and then the confidence follows. And once you have that confidence, everything else accelerates.
Which brings up something I've been thinking about for a while, actually, because we've been talking about being more intentional, using time better, staying focused. But there's a side of this that I don't think gets enough attention.
What do you mean?
I mean rest. Like actual, genuine rest, not just sleep, but the kind of deliberate doing nothing that people almost feel guilty about.
Oh, this is such an important conversation. Because I think a lot of learners, especially motivated ones, have this belief that if they're not studying, they're falling behind. Every free moment feels like a missed opportunity.
And that pressure is exhausting in itself. You're not even doing anything and you feel guilty about it.
Which is completely counterproductive, because your brain actually needs unstructured time to consolidate what it has learned, like the connections between new words and concepts. A lot of that processing happens when you're not actively studying.
So rest is not the opposite of learning. It's actually part of it.
Exactly. And there's this concept I came across that I find absolutely fascinating. It comes from Dutch culture, and it's called Niksen.
Niksen, how do you even spell that?
Niksen. And it basically means the art of doing nothing on purpose, without guilt. Not scrolling, not listening to something, not multitasking, just sitting, looking out a window, letting your mind go wherever it wants.
And that's considered valuable, like culturally accepted.
Not just accepted, it's encouraged. The Dutch idea is that Niksen is how you recharge your batteries. That's the phrase, to recharge your batteries, meaning to rest and regain your energy so you can function well again.
I love that phrase, recharge your batteries, because it implies that your energy is a finite resource. You can't keep drawing from it without putting something back.
And in Scandinavian work culture, there's this similar philosophy. There's this deep respect for what you might call a sustainable pace. The idea that you should work or study at a speed you can genuinely maintain long-term without burning out.
Sustainable pace. It's such a grown-up concept, honestly, because so much of the messaging around learning is about intensity. Push harder, study more, grind.
And that works for a short sprint, maybe. But language learning is not a sprint. It's more like a long walk where the scenery keeps changing.
That's a lovely way to put it. And I think what makes rest feel productive is when it's intentional. When you decide, okay, for the next 30 minutes, I am genuinely not going to think about studying. That's guilt-free downtime.
Guilt-free downtime. Time off that you take without feeling bad about it. And the key word is guilt-free, because the guilt is what makes rest feel like a waste. Without the guilt, rest actually does its job.
And there's a difference, too, between just collapsing on the sofa because you're too tired to do anything else, which is passive rest, and actually choosing to take a walk or read something light purely for enjoyment, which is more of an active rest.
Active rest still gives your brain a break from the hard work of learning, but it keeps you gently engaged with the world. And sometimes that gentle engagement is where unexpected things click into place.
Like you hear a word on a walk or in a casual conversation, and suddenly it connects to something you studied last week.
And that connection feels effortless because you weren't forcing it.
It just arrived, and I think that's what people mean when they say language starts to feel natural. It's not that you suddenly know everything, it's that you've given your brain enough space to start making those connections on its own.
And honestly, sitting here talking about all of this, I feel like the whole conversation has come back to one simple idea. That being intentional doesn't mean being intense. It means being thoughtful about what you do and equally thoughtful about what you don't do.
That's beautifully put, and I think for anyone listening who has been feeling guilty about taking breaks or frustrated because they feel like they're always busy but never really moving forward, I hope this conversation has felt like a bit of a permission slip.
A permission slip. I love that. Permission to simplify, permission to rest, permission to make mistakes and bounce back without treating it like a failure.
Because the goal was never to be a perfect English learner. The goal is to actually get there, and getting there takes a path that you can walk on without completely exhausting yourself.
That's really it, isn't it? And what I find most interesting looking back on everything we talked about today is that none of it requires a dramatic life overhaul. It's genuinely small shifts. One intention instead of 10, 1 hour instead of 5, one moment of real rest instead of guilty scrolling.
Small shifts that compound over time, and I think that's what makes it feel achievable rather than overwhelming.
And that's what we want for everyone listening. Not perfection, just a little more ease, a little more clarity about where your energy is going and why.
And maybe a little Niksen thrown in there too.
Absolutely. Everyone deserves some guilt-free Niksen. Okay, before we wrap up, we have one final question for you, and we really want to hear your answer on this one.
Yes, this one is personal. We want to know, what is one small change you are going to make this week to be more intentional with your time? It doesn't have to be big. It can be something tiny, just one thing.
Leave your answer in the comments below. Genuinely, we read them, we love them, and sometimes they inspire future episodes, so please don't be shy.
And if this conversation resonated with you, if it made you think even a little differently about how you spend your time and energy, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too.
That's honestly the kindest thing you can do for us and for this community. And if you haven't already, subscribing to the channel takes about 2 seconds, and it means we can keep making content like this for you.
We put a lot of heart into these episodes, and knowing that people are actually finding them helpful makes every bit of it worth it.
It really does. David, this was such a good one today. I feel like we could have kept going for another hour, honestly.
Same. There's always more to say, but I think we landed somewhere really good.
We did. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Take care of yourselves, be kind to your brain, and we will see you in the next episode.
Take it easy, everyone.